The fire watcher in ancient Babylon, 1700 years before Christ. Fire was both necessity and terror. It cooked food, provided light, and enabled metalwork. But it also destroyed. A single spark could consume entire city blocks. Mud brick buildings might not burn, but their wooden beams, reed roofs, and textile contents fed flames. Flames spread building to building until whole neighborhoods vanished. Every city feared fire. Few cities prepared for it. This is the story of a man who watched for flames, who built Babylon's first organized fire response. He learned that preventing disaster is harder than surviving it. People only believe in preparation after catastrophe proves it necessary. Meet Uras-tutu, 49 years old, former soldier. He served in Hammurabi's army for 23 years, fought in campaigns, survived battles, retired with honor and a small pension, ready to live quietly. Then he watched a fire destroy his neighborhood, started in a pottery kiln, spread to adjacent workshops, consumed 12 buildings before it burned itself out. 7 people died. 40 families lost everything. The fire burned for 6 hours. No organized response. Just chaos, people running, grabbing belongings. Uras-tutu had seen chaos before on battlefields. He knew chaos killed. He knew organization saved lives. The difference between panic and discipline was preparation. He proposed something radical to Babylon's city council: a fire watch. Teams stationed throughout the city, trained to respond to fires, equipped with water pumps, sand, demolition tools, ready to fight flames before they became unstoppable. The council's response was predictably skeptical. Fire is rare, they argued. Spending city funds on permanent fire teams is wasteful. People can handle occasional fires themselves. But Uras-tutu had data. He had researched city records. In the past 10 years, Babylon had experienced 47 significant fires, 300 buildings destroyed, 62 deaths, countless injuries, economic damage that exceeded what a fire watch would cost. Fire isn't rare, he countered. Fire is constant. We just treat each one as an isolated incident rather than a pattern requiring systematic response. The council remained unconvinced. No city funding. If Uras-tutu wanted a fire watch, he would have to create it privately. He started small, recruited 8 volunteers, men he had served with, men who understood discipline and training, men willing to work without pay until the system proved its worth. They divided Babylon into 8 sectors, 1 volunteer per sector, each responsible for watching their area, looking for smoke, listening for fire alarms, ready to respond immediately. They built equipment, water pumps operated by hand, leather buckets for bucket brigades, long hooks for pulling down burning roofs, sand stored at strategic locations for smothering fires, axes for creating fire breaks by demolishing adjacent buildings. They trained, practiced bucket brigades, timed their response to simulated fires, developed protocols. Who leads, who follows, how to coordinate, how to prioritize saving lives over saving property. And they waited for the inevitable fire that would test their system. It came 3 months later. A textile warehouse filled with imported cotton and wool, a dropped oil lamp, flames spreading instantly through the dry fabric, the kind of fire that normally consumed entire blocks. Uras-tutu's fire watch responded within minutes. The sector watcher saw smoke, raised the alarm. Teams from adjacent sectors converged. They arrived before the fire spread beyond the warehouse. They didn't try to save the warehouse, it was already lost. Instead, they created a fire break, demolished the building adjacent to the warehouse on the downwind side, removed the fuel the fire needed to spread, then focused water on surrounding buildings, keeping them wet, preventing ignition. The warehouse burned completely, but the fire didn't spread. No adjacent buildings lost, no deaths, no injuries. The fire watch had worked. The warehouse owner was furious. His building destroyed, his goods lost but alive, and his neighbor's building saved. The alternative would have been worse, much worse. Word spread. The fire watch had stopped a fire that should have consumed half the district. Maybe the skeptics had been wrong. Maybe preparation actually mattered. 2 months later, another fire, a residential building, cooking fire that got out of control. The fire watch responded again, evacuated residents, contained the flames to one building, saved 3 adjacent homes. Pattern established, response worked, lives saved, property protected. The evidence was mounting. Uras-tutu approached the city council again, this time with results, not just proposals. He showed reduced fire damage, documented saved buildings, and calculated economic benefit. He requested official recognition and crucial funding for his fire watch. The council was more receptive, but politics complicated everything. Some supported the fire watch, while others resented private citizens taking on government roles. The compromise was a typical government half measure: limited city funding, enough for equipment, but no pay for volunteers and no authority to enforce safety codes. Uras-tutu accepted, knowing partial support was better than none. He expanded the fire watch to 20 volunteers, ensuring better coverage and faster response. But Uras-tutu wanted more than just response. He wanted prevention. He proposed fire safety regulations, mandatory distances, and required water storage. The resistance was immediate. Business owners claimed regulations would impose impossible costs. Property owners resented interference, and builders argued construction would become unaffordable. Regulations are premature. The council decided, let the fire watch prove its value first. Uras-tutu was frustrated but persistent. He couldn't legislate, but he could educate. He started giving public demonstrations, showing how fires spread and explaining simple precautions. Some people listened and adjusted their practices, becoming more careful. Others ignored him, considering him an alarmist, exaggerating the danger. Then came the fire that changed everything. A metal forge, improperly ventilated, built too close to a grain warehouse, a routine day. A spark that should have been harmless. But the warehouse was storing grain in conditions that created dust. Fine particles suspended in air. The spark ignited the dust. The explosion was catastrophic. The warehouse exploded instantly, sent flaming debris across 3 blocks, starting 19 simultaneous fires. The fire watch responded with everything they had: 20 volunteers fighting 19 fires, trying to stop spread, evacuate residents, and prevent complete district destruction. They saved half the district. 11 fires contained before spread. 8 fires grew beyond control. 42 buildings destroyed, 13 deaths, hundreds homeless. It could have been worse. Without the fire watch, the entire district would have burned. But it was still catastrophic, still preventable if regulations had existed. The catastrophe shifted politics. The council couldn't ignore the death toll, couldn't dismiss the economic damage, couldn't maintain that fire prevention was unnecessary. Hammurabi himself intervened, ordered comprehensive fire safety regulations. Based on Uras-tutu's proposals, mandatory building separations, required safety equipment, regular inspections, penalties for violations, the fire watch became an official city service. Pay positions expanded to 50 members, given authority to enforce fire codes, provided with better equipment, recognized as essential infrastructure. Uras-tutu was appointed chief fire warden, official title, official authority, official budget. Everything he had requested for years earlier, but it took a catastrophe to make it happen. He trained the expanded fire watch rigorously. Military discipline applied to fire response, clear chains of command, practiced procedures, constant drills, professionalization. Fire deaths in Babylon dropped 70% over the next decade. Property damage from fires decreased even more dramatically. The economic benefit far exceeded the cost. Other Mesopotamian cities copied the model, established their own fire watches, adopted similar safety regulations. The system spread across the region. Uras-tutu worked as chief fire warden until he was 67. Trained 3 generations of fire watchers, saved countless lives, prevented immeasurable property damage, created a system that outlasted him by centuries. When he died, the entire fire watch attended his funeral, honored the man who had turned observation into organization, reaction into preparation, proving that preventing disaster was possible if you were willing to plan today. Archaeologists find evidence of ancient fire response systems, organized water storage, strategic Equipment caches, building codes designed to limit fire spread. The ancients understood fire management. They just needed someone willing to fight for systematic preparation. Uras-tutu's legacy wasn't the fires he extinguished. It was the fires that never grew beyond control. The deaths that didn't happen because evacuation was organized, the buildings that stood because regulations prevented dangerous construction. Prevention is invisible. Success leaves no dramatic evidence, but failure creates catastrophe. And the difference between the two is someone caring enough to prepare, the fire watcher. Silent Babylon, where ancient civilizations speak.